All right, ABT Live fans, we've got a special treat for you tonight. It's not often we get to talk to the CEO of a company, the inventor, the man himself. He looks like Jesus, and he is a god of buck and bass over there. Will George, welcome to ABT Live. I hope I embarrassed you then.
I'm hoping I don't get struck by lightning right now. That's what I'm hoping for. So,
and look, I just want to tell the viewers before the show, we were getting the phone all set up and we're getting ready for the interview. And Will says, yeah, I've got the phone sitting on a case of Winchester rifle shells. So it's not an American interview unless you're sitting up on a box of bullets, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I guess I was trying to hold the phone and talk to you guys at the same time, and it wasn't working. So I'm looking at it right now. I've got a case of Winchester shells, and the phone seems to be doing fine. So
awesome, man! It's great to have you on. I know there's the time difference, so thanks for coming with us tonight. My last memory of you is a few days ago. You were talking to the Buck and Bass marketing guys. You were absolutely pumped about the reception of your product, which, if you haven't heard about it, is basically the world's best wet weather suit for fishing. At the Bassmaster Classic, you went to the Classic, and man, I've been to a Forest Wood Cup. The vibe at those event things they're crazy, aren't they?
Yeah, it's something that it's hard to put into words. You really have to be there, and like I was saying the other night, it's the World Cup, it's the Super Bowl of bass fishing, and to be able to be there. And this was our first year of actually having a presence there as far as a physical booth, and it was unreal. It was unreal. I mean, it was the second most largest attendance at a Bassmaster Classic in history. Yep. And our booth and everything we had, it was incredible. I mean, it was so crowded at so many times that people had to just not stop by our booth. There was one guy that commented, I saw it was just yesterday on our Instagram. He was saying that he had to bring a helmet to try to like get through our booth because all the people and everything. But it was a really good time. It was incredible.
Well, it's a brand which is turning heads both in America and in Australia. You know, from an ABT point of view, we love it because you're the first wet weather gear manufacturer that's actually sponsored and supported ABT. So not only are we excited about the fact that you're interested about what we're doing on the other side of the world, but we're really keen about the gear. At the same time you were approaching us, I was tired of my current brand of wet weather suits. I was tired of them, seeping through halfway through the day, making me uncomfortable. And I was researching your gear at the same time that Anthony reached out to us and said, we want to become involved over there. So it's I think it was meant to be. And I've been wearing the suits now. I've got my Buck and Bass here. Guys will probably see it on my live stream. They always ask about the brown and black suit, but it's not heavily branded. Tell us a little bit about the history of the suit. Why did you invent it? And was it the same reasons that we're all thinking of? We're tired of getting wet.
Yeah. So I started this in 2000. The idea came in 2015. It was actually Thanksgiving, obviously American holiday. Thanksgiving of 2015, I came up with the name and the logo. And it was actually a few months before that. I was watching an Elite Series event on live stream, and they were up in Michigan or somewhere up north. And it was just pouring down rain on those guys. And they were all complaining about being wet. And I was sitting there as a fan. I was watching it, and I was just going, this makes no sense to me, because I'm not a tournament angler. I'm not that good. I never have been. I never will be. I know my place, and that's for me to stay away from the tournaments because I'm not that good. But I've got a lot of friends that are good at angling, professional anglers and whatnot. So but I was watching these tournaments, and it made no sense to me whatsoever that you guys have the best rods, the best reels, the best electronics, the best everything, yet this one piece wasn't working. And bass anglers, when you're fishing, you're constantly dealing with water. Water is inevitable. I don't care if it's sunny, blue skies, whatever, you're still dealing with water constantly. And to hear these guys being wet, it made no sense to me. So in the spring of 16, after I had come up with the name and the logo and got it trademarked and everything and made it legal, we really started to get to work. And how it happened was I had a good friend. I've been to myself personally, I've been to Australia like 8 or 9 times. I love Australia. Australia is such an awesome place. Great people. I love Australia. And one of my good friends was the first, Joseph Ryan was the first person that I brought on board with me. I said, hey, I have this idea. And he's an amazing photographer, and he's Australian. And he's like, I said, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but do you want to go with me on this journey, basically? And he's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. So I was okay. So it was early spring of 16, which would be our spring, your guys' fall or autumn. I said, hey, we need to find a CFO, somebody that's great with finance. That was our missing piece at that time, which we really needed. And he happened to have another friend, which is Anthony, who you were speaking of earlier, that's Australian, that's world class when it comes to finance, has a master's degree and finance, just up and down the list. He's incredible. So once those pieces started coming together, then we got our design team. That things started falling into place, and the more that we started digging into it, we just discovered that I started just myself personally learning more and more. And like, for example, when we started this, it was in the development process, because we spent 4 years almost 4 years developing the product and testing it before we ever released it to the market. And when we were going and doing this, I was really incredulous of the fact that there wasn't a product out there that actually could keep you dry, right? And at that time, the best product that was out there, at least to what my knowledge for bass fishing and what all the guys had told me, was a Simms Pro Dry suit. So I went and bought one, and it was, I went and bought it full price, just like a regular customer. And I went to go visit a friend on a fishing trip, and we got out on the water, and within about 45 minutes, this is a brand new suit. Within about 45 minutes, my sleeves were wet all the way up to my elbow. My hood, I just had to take it off, because every time we'd run, it started flapping and buzzing and rattling and all these things. I just took it off. Then my knees, I was in the passenger seat. My knees were totally wet from the water just coming right in and hitting me. And my shoulders were wet. And my butt was wet from sitting in the passenger seat, the puddle buildup. And I was just sitting there going, this is ridiculous. Here this company is. They've got this tag on the jacket that says 100% waterproof, 100% this. And I'm sitting here thinking, their idea of waterproof and mine are obviously not matching. And I was more upset than I was more like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is a joke. Like, I right then I was like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to fix this. This is just isn't right. And it's still to this day. I mean, even at the Classic, you walk around and you see brands that are marketing their product as bold as can be, saying 100% waterproof and 100% breathable. And you're sitting there going, okay, that math does not add up. You can't have a dam and a sieve at the same time. And it's just for years, us as anglers have just been fed this line or lie that these products are waterproof. And while you're sitting there soaking wet and you're sitting there going, my jacket's waterproof, the tag said so. And it's like, no, it's not. It sucks. You've been lied to. And that just started the whole thing. And that just started by, I was like, this just isn't, like, you guys as tournament bass anglers are professional athletes, and you guys deserve to have professional level gear. You guys have the best electronics, rods, reels, boats, baits, everything. And you guys deserve to have that same level of technical apparel.
That's awesome. I want you to explain to our viewers, they will empathize with that story, because I'm sure everyone watching has had a suit which has failed them in some way in the past. Explain to me the technical side of the fabrics that you're using in this reservoir rain jacket. Like, it's a top of the line suit, it's a foul weather suit, and your catch line is undeniably dry. Take us back to the fabric and explain in layman's terms why the fabric is going to get the job done.
So the most fundamental key, which we discovered and we learned while we were going through this process, was that there's a thing called a water column rating. and I don't know if you're familiar with it. Yet you'll see on the tag and everything, you'll see WCR, and on all brands across the board, you'll see a WCR water column rating. What that essentially is it rates how much water the product can withstand before it breaks and it leaks. And we found out and discovered that anything that is a 40,000, that's below 40,000 on the water column rating, the WCR, at some point will eventually leak and fail. And this is science. This isn't us just making up random numbers or anything like that. This is scientifically proven. So anything under 40,000 will eventually leak and fail. And for example, you've got like Sims and AFCO and all the brands out there. They're running at about a 20 to 30,000 water column rating. The foundation of our product is that iron shell material, our proprietary iron shell, and the water column rating on that is 49,000. So that right there is, to answer your question in a nutshell, why the product is so good. And what we did to counteract the breathability, what we discovered was bass fishing is a inherently, it's a non-aerobic sport where there's not a lot of movement. You're not running, you're not, shooting a bass. You're not doing any of those things like other sports. A lot of time with bass fishing, you're sedentary. You're running down the lake, setting up tackle. But what we created was our patented casting comfort system. So when you're casting, setting the hook, that vent you see on the back of the jacket acts like an exhaust on a pickup truck, where it inhales and exhales based off of your body movement and controls your body temperature. And it's an amazing product. When we first got it dialed in and we had the final version, we were almost ready to go to production. Brendan Cobb is a friend of mine. He's on the Elite Series. Brendan Cobb, he's one of our main guys. And I sent him the final, it was almost the final version. And he didn't have any rain at the time. And he's like, I don't know what to do to test it. And I said, well, I don't know what to tell you either. Like, you got to figure out a way to test it. He actually went, filled up his bathtub, turned on the shower. He sat in the bathtub, had the shower running, and he was in there for about 45 minutes. And he said at one point his wife came in and was like, what are you doing? Like, are you okay? What's going on in here? And he was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just testing this suit. And she's like, okay, weirdo. Like, I'm out of here. And anyway, he called me and he's like, I just sat in a puddle of water for 45 minutes and had it pouring down rain on me. And he's like, I think we got it. And I was like, okay, it's game on. And then that started it.
That's great. I think one thing that the viewers need to understand as well is it's a compromise between being waterproof and being breathable. Basically,
yep.
A plastic jacket will keep you dry, but it won't vent any gases out. You'll sweat inside it. They're very uncomfortable. We've all been down that path. We've worn the plastic poncho. It doesn't work. Yeah. And Gore-Tex suit will be very breathable, but if it hasn't got the water column rating, it's going to seep eventually. And that's what we've all found out. So the compromise is you make it totally waterproof, and to get over the breathability, you've got the vent in the back that when you cast it lets it in. And I must admit, you guys sent me a suit pretty early, and I tested it in some pretty nasty summertime rainy conditions, fishing for barramundi and stuff like that. And I'm the same. I'm like, you know what? I came in. The only place I was wet was when I was running back in the rain. And I didn't have a waterproof hat, so my hat gets wet. So your hair starts to get a little bit moist. But hey, we've got waterproof hats now that take care of that problem. And as soon as I had that night fishing, it was like, this is the real deal. And we've been using it ever since. Yeah. Tell us about some of your pro angler team that you have in the US. I know in Australia you've signed up Jamie McEwen and Matty Langford. Basically the best brim and bass fishermen that you've got. You've got a similar sort of team over there. We know about COBB. He catches them and he wins Bassmaster events. But take us through some of your other pro stuff.
Yeah, so we've got the first group that started that were our core group that we started with were obviously Brandon Cobb, Jeff Sprague, MLF, Jeff Sprague, and Justin Adkins on the Elite Series. He's a former Forest Wood Cup champion. Yep. So those were the three we started with. And then a really good friend of mine who's an up-and-comer, he's currently on the National Professional Fishing League, and that's Brian Smith. And then also he's a West Coast legend. His name's Bobby Barrick.
Yeah,
he was
the
the
Delta
one
Rat.
that
We know Bobby. I've fished against him in the past back in the West Coast. So
yep. So Bobby's Perfect Frog. He's known as the Frog Guy. That was the first 5 group, and then now we have Elite Series rookies, Justin Hamner and KJ Queen. We've got just an amazing group of guys that I've been very fortunate to have that want to be a part of this. And we have one of our things that I'm very proud of is the group that our younger group that's coming up is we have some incredible guys that are currently on the open series and things like that are going to be going to that next level here very soon, to be on there with Cobb and Adkins and Jeff on MLF. So we've got an incredible group.
That's amazing. Of course, we love that you support ABT. For the ABT anglers watching the show, we have suits for the Angler of the Year boaters in the brim and the bass, and we're going to have some way of giving it away for Barra. We were thinking about maybe the Buck and Big Barra might be a good way to give it away for the season, but we have suits for the season-ending event. So you're going to have some good guys wearing your gear over here as well. Something that's also going to be of interest to the Aussie guys is the fact that now that you've conquered the rain suit, you've focused your attention on the sun gear. You've got some shirts, some hoods. Take us through some of the new range you got coming out, which ABT will be putting in our store pretty soon.
Yeah, so this falls back to our basically our company moniker, which is Built for Bass, right? When we started this, there was Sims and AFCO and those brands, they're going out there just saying we're for fishing, and that's great. Like, I love fishing, but what you guys are doing in Australia and those tournament anglers and what the guys are doing here in the States is a totally unique thing. It's not like fly fishing. It's not like deep sea tuna fishing. It's not any of those things. You guys are in your boats running, I don't know what the Australian equivalent is, but you're, in the States, they're running 70 miles an hour at the start of a tournament. You're fishing one spot, then you got to run 70 miles an hour to your next spot to try to catch more fish. You got to be in at a certain time. You got to weigh your fish, all those things. It's just a completely different sport. And everything from our jackets to our sun tops, everything is always made with that specific thing in mind, that Built for Bass moniker. And the sun tops, for example, one of the biggest things about our sun top, which I noticed and how that was created, was I was on this is back in 2019. I was on the California Delta, which is a world-renowned largemouth bass fishery. And I was on the water with Brian Smith. And we were running from point A to point B. And it was about a 45-minute run. And the sun shirt that he had on at that time, when he was fishing, he had the hood on, he had his hat on, was fishing. But when we started running, he had to take his hood off because it was just blowing off. And he had to take his hat off or it would blow off. And he's got no hair. He's got a shaved head. And I was sitting in the passenger seat, and I'm sitting there watching him, looking over as we're running, going, okay, you're getting burnt. You're getting more burnt. You're getting more burnt. By the time we got to our spot, his ears, his top of his head, he was just roasted. And I thought to myself, what's the point of a sun top if you can only use it for a select amount of time? Because the sun isn't going to take a break while you're running. The sun's going to be relentless. And sun protection, especially like you guys in Australia, my gosh, you're dealing with some serious sun. Like, you need to have
we're the world champs
serious
sun
protection.
cancer. We're the world champs.
Yeah, you guys need to have appropriate gear. And one of the things I'm most proud about our new sun top, it has our patented design full throttle hood. So for the first time ever in a sun top, you're able to run wide open with or without a hat on. And that hood stays cinched down, totally protecting, and it's UV 55 protection, all day protection, completely cinches down, protecting your head, your ears, the back of the neck. It's incredible. The material we have for that, incredible material. It has, the big thing about this material is I know a lot in the South here in the States, like Texas, Alabama, Florida, you're dealing with some really humid weather and your clothes start sticking to you.
Yep.
And that becomes really annoying. The material that we created for this, I don't care how hot and humid you get, it doesn't stick. And so I know you guys in Australia are dealing with really humid conditions. You're going to love this because it will not stick to you.
That's great. So, and I think the sun gear is going to be just as popular as the rain gear here.
Yep. Yeah. And so we've got that new sun top we call the Delta sun top. We've got a matching face shield with it, and the thing with the same material. And the thing about the face shield, which is amazing, is we were able to create it where it doesn't fog your glasses. Yep. So for the first time ever, you're able to have full face protection, head, neck, ears, and still be able to wear your glasses, covering your nose, everything, without fogging your glasses. Because, you know, when you guys are fishing in a tournament, I've seen it so many times where, let's say you're sight fishing and you're seeing that bed right over there and you're sight fishing. Well, now all of a sudden your glasses are fogging up. You've either got to pull your face shield or your buff down. You got to unfog your glasses. It's like, I always wanted this to be where you're on the water, not thinking about anything else other than catching fish. You're in a tournament. And I always look at being in a tournament as you've paid all this money and time and practice and energy to get to that point of tournament day. It's day one of tournament day. Don't get there. And it's like doing a marathon and tripping at the last bit of the marathon because you didn't have your shoes tied at the beginning. And that's the way I look at our gear is don't go that far in a tournament and all the practice and money spent and everything and not have the appropriate gear on to then allow you to finish your job. Because so many guys I see, they're out on the water fussing with their clothing or their rain suit's wet. And I'm like, why are you going all this way and not just finishing the deal, getting the appropriate gear?
Yeah. Look, I think every single one of our viewers tonight can appreciate that. And hey, we appreciate you joining us tonight, taking us through some of the genesis of BucknBass. We love the logo. We love the gear. For people watching, you can check out all the reservoir rain suits on tournamentboats.com.au or, of course, ABT sponsor Manning River Marine. Chris Hickson and the guys down there have got the reservoirs in stock as well. Will, thanks for joining us tonight, and we hope you get back out to Australia soon. 1 year, you're going to be allowed to come back here.
As soon as I've told the guys that I've told Langford this quite a bit. I told him as soon as I can get over there without having to sit in a hotel for 14 days or whatever it is, as soon as those doors open, believe me, I will be there.
Awesome, mate. We're going to love to have you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.